Yo, what's going on, guys? Cdew here. I play for the Method US PvP team, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 7.1.5 rest of Shaman changes in Arena. So every single patch so far, this expansion seems pretty overwhelming. So I'm going to try and make this very, very easy for you and kind of, go over what's going on in 7.1.5. As you guys can see, there's a lot of patch notes. It's kind of difficult to follow, but I'm going to make this nice and easy for you and kind of talk about all the changes and let you know how I think Shamans are going to be next patch. So as of right now, I think Shamans are still going to be pretty powerful next patch with a couple of changes to some specific abilities and talents. Number one, Unleash Life is getting a very, very small spell power buff. I don't think it's going to be enough for it to make a big difference, but as of right now, I'm actually thinking Unleash Life is kind of rising up in the meta again. I've actually liked it quite a bit, and seeing it get a little spell power buff might be, the little kick it needs to become tier 1 again. So this, I think, is a pretty good change because right now most people aren't actually taking it. Wellspring is something that you're not really going to be worrying about in PvP, at least in my opinion. I think Ascendance will always trump Wellspring. Even with the significant spell power buff it's getting, I don't think it's going to be worth it. The cast time in Arena, the mana cost, the conal, type of effect that it has to be casted, I just don't think it's going to be worth taking in Arena. Moving down to the PvP talents, this is where it kind of gets tricky next patch. So Earth Shield right now, as you guys may know, is kind of like the bread and butter for Resto Shaman. If someone's taking damage, you got to make sure you have Earth Shield on them. In this expansion, particularly with the 20% damage reduction that Earth Shield provides, Earth Shield is really, really powerful. And Blizzard kind of recognized that. So Blizzard actually decided to put a 12-second cooldown on Earth Shield. This to me is going to be, incredibly detrimental. I don't think Resto Shamans are going to be able to spec in Earth Shield. I think it's going to be replaced by the new Spirit Link talent. Maybe in specific comps and scenarios, Earth Shield could still be good. Mainly comps without Purge, mainly comps that can't swap very often. Maybe like a Roddy type comp like Warlock, Moonkin, Holy Paladin, or something like that, where you could just kind of leave Earth Shield on one target, play in the backfield, and not really have to play around the cooldown at all. I think maybe it could still be viable, but versus teams that have heavy burst, high mobility, they could swap around a lot. I think Earth Shield is just going to fall off completely. I think this is a pretty bad change. I think it's going to hurt Resto Shamans quite a bit, but all in all, I think it might be able to be replaced by the Spirit Link talent I'm going to talk about. But with that being said, Earth Shield is getting more healing with the spell power increase, which is nice to kind of compensate for maybe the downtime it's going to have. But I still don't know if that's going to be enough. And this might actually look like a nerf to you guys, but in my opinion, it's kind of a buff. So right now, if you take 6% of your health, Earth Shield procs. Next patch, it's going to be 8% of your health. The reason I think that's a buff is because sometimes Earth Shield falls off so quickly because people take over 6% of their health and damage very, very frequently. With the 12-second cooldown next patch, you don't actually want your Earth Shield to fall off just based off the healing. You want to make sure that's up there as long as possible. So increasing the number or the percent that it falls off at by, even just a couple percent like this makes it so it should have a little bit more uptime, which maybe could help you in the long run by allowing that cooldown to reset and giving you more time to be able to get that back up. Rippling Waters next patch is very interesting. It's giving Riptide an additional charge, which means you could have 3 Riptides, which kind of leaves some potential for Torrent. Even with that, though, I really don't see Rippling Waters ever being good. It just doesn't do enough healing. It's not better than Earth Shield. It's not better than Spirit Link. A pretty lackluster talent here. We're going to need to see more buffs before Rippling Waters ever becomes viable. Even with the extra Tide, it's going to be really weird if some people play and have 3 charges of Riptide. Maybe they could just get around with spamming instance with Torrent. It could be something fun to mess around with. Maybe good in RBGs. I don't actually know. I don't get to play RBGs very often. I don't really enjoy them. So Spirit Link, which I think is going to be the talent of choice next patch. This talent is very, very powerful. I think it's very powerful right now. I don't think it's better than Spirit Link, but next patch, they're kind of getting rid of some of the weaknesses that the talent has. Some things I don't like about the talent is that I think it's very, very frustrating to play against. I think a lot of players are going to complain about having to fight against Resto Shaman's playing with the Spirit Link talent. It basically means that everyone on the team is immune to CC. The reason I say that is because the damage is going to break polymorphs, the damage are going to break fears, they're going to break hexes, they're going to break those incapacitates. Any type of CC that breaks on damage, Spirit Link is going to break that. So, I expect this talent to get nerfed very soon after the patch releases, just because the simple fact that players are just going to absolutely hate playing against it. But in this patch, This isn't here. This is all new. Link targets receive 100% increased healing from Chain Heal and Riptide. This is actually wrong. It's not Riptide. It's Healing Rain. So it's Chain Heal and Healing Rain, which are two heals that you actually almost never see in Arena. So you think that it wouldn't have much of an impact. But next patch, if you are playing that Spirit Link talent and you see yourself grouped up, your whole team's taking damage, I think Chain Heal and both Healing Rain may be very, very, very effective healing next patch with the Spirit Link talent. So expect to see kind of some new healing coming out of the Shaman arsenal next patch if they're playing the Spirit Link talent. It's not very traditional, and I can't say I'm too excited about it. I'm a little more old-fashioned, a little closed-minded, but I think some of the newer players are actually going to really enjoy using all of their healing spells in Arena. Very situational still. You have to be stacked up for the Chain Heal. You're going to have to be stacked up for the Healing Rain. But definitely going to be something that you can see. They buffed the mana costs. It was more expensive, and they also got rid of the cooldown. So in the current patch that we're in right now, the Spirit Link has a 20-second uptime with a 30-second cooldown, which means it doesn't have 100% uptime. Next patch, this talent is going to have 100% uptime, which once again, it's going to be really, really, really frustrating to deal with. One of the flaws I thought the talent has it was a 15-yard range. What I learned yesterday was it's a 15-yard range for activation, and after activation, the Spirit Link is active for the full 30 seconds. It doesn't matter how far you go, the Spirit Link is always going to be in effect. So it's going to feel like when you're playing against this talent that you're not going to be able to do much damage to your enemies. It's going to be really hard for you to get any CC. This, in my opinion, is a really, really, really clunky talent. I think Blizzard, I think Blizzard isn't on the right track with Spirit Link. I like Spirit Link Totem very much, very powerful, long cooldown, gets the job done. Spirit Link, on the other hand, I think is going to make players rage fairly quickly, and I think is ultimately going to end up getting nerfed. All right, so Wind Fury Totem is, in my opinion, receiving a pretty big nerf. If I understand this correctly, from the 40-yard range down to just instant with no range means you can only drop it at your feet, which is going to essentially, in my opinion, make it unviable. Wind Fury is already very rarely played. I think you only see it when you're playing with a warrior, sometimes maybe a couple other select melee classes, but the Shaman being able to only drop it at your feet makes it just not good for resto. You're never really on top of your warrior. You want to be able to drop that from afar, and I just don't think it's going to be too good. Restoration, I think Lava Burst is receiving a little bit of a spell power buff here. Not really that big of a deal. Chain Heal getting a little bit of a healing nerf. Also not that big of a deal. Healing Stream getting a little bit of a healing buff. These things you're not going to be able to really feel in Arena. But, still there regardless. So let's go ahead and move it into the talent calculator here. Some things changing about Resto Shaman talents in 7.1.5 that are probably going to actually make quite a bit of an impact. So let me show you the trees as they are now. Right now we have Inner Renewal and we have Calming Waters. These two talents are going to be swapped almost. Well, Calming Waters is going to take where Inner Renewal is at, and Inner Renewal is just going to be straight up removed. I guess Blizzard, kind of making a statement that they didn't like the mana efficiency you got out of Inner Renewal, so deciding to actually go ahead and remove it. This section right here where Calming Waters is at is kind of in the same spot that most of the other healers immune to interrupt mechanics are at. You have the Zen Focus from Monks in this section. You have the Disc Priest Inner Focus in this section. And I think the Paladin's Divine Favor is in this section right here. So kind of matching it up to be very similar to the other healers with that anti-interrupt mechanic, giving the option between, healing for more, getting heals more frequently, or, more haste to also get more heals more frequently, I suppose. So Calming Water next patch, I think, is still going to be really viable. I think that you might almost always take it over the other two. It's going to be really tricky. Right now, I rely on Calming Waters quite a bit to get my casted heals off for Resto Shaman, especially in the day and age we live in. There's so many interrupts. There's so many ways to stop casting. Without Calming Waters, it feels like it's really, really tricky to get interrupts. In certain situations, you may take Vim and Vigor still. Maybe if you're playing, a team with one interrupt that only tries to CC you. That way Calming Waters is kind of irrelevant if there's only one interrupt. If you're only going to get interrupted one time, you may as well not even have the talent. But in most situations, there's more than one interrupt, or the interrupt cooldown is longer than the duration of Calming Waters, or excuse me, shorter than the duration of Calming Waters. So if you're playing against just a Resto Shaman, for example, or an Enhancement Shaman, they may not be attacking you, they may be CCing you, they may only want to interrupt you, but if a 12-second interrupt is enough to keep locking you down from healing your partner, Calming Waters just may be straight up better than Vim and Vigor. The new talent that we're bringing in is called Tidebringer. Every 8 seconds, the cast time of your chain heal is reduced by 50%, maximum of 2 charges. This, you would look at this, you would kind of blow it off, chain heal in arena, lol, what's going to happen? But with this new talent, Spirit Link, that already increases your healing by 100% with chain heal, Tidebringer is actually looking like a very, very, very powerful choice. Even in the eyes of Swelling Waves, which I think is an incredible talent. Calming Water, Swelling Waves, I think is going to be probably the way to go if you're getting trained. You may just be immune to death with this combination right here. Resto Shamans may actually be one of the best healers against Cdews, ironically, after all these years. But Tidebringer with Spirit Link, I think, is probably going to be one of the better combos. The 100% healing on Chain Heal, the efficiency that you're going to get from this if you're stacked up is just, it's over 9,000. So this is definitely going to be something that is more situational on smaller maps, Dalaran Arena, things where you're clumped up a lot. Tidebringer is probably going to be really, really powerful. On the bigger maps like Tolvaron Arena, where your team's kind of spreading out a little bit, it's not going to be as powerful. And you're just going to kind of have to figure out, I guess, on which maps, on which comps do you actually like Tidebringer. But that is actually it for all the Resto Shaman changes in 7.1.5. I think Resto Shamans are still going to be very powerful. Even with the Earthshield nerf, I think Resto Shamans may be even better depending on how well Spirit Link actually is. On paper, I think Spirit Link is going to be incredibly broken. Just every time anyone takes damage, it's just 50% less. It's almost like a 50% wall. You could play so careful as a Resto Shaman, get your link up, run away, top yourself, top your partner. I think it's going to be really hard for people to kind of push through this damage, especially with the healing throughput that you're getting with Tidebringer or Swelling Waves and Calming Waters. It almost seems overwhelming. I actually think Resto Shamans could easily be more powerful than they are right now. Which is nice, but without Earthshield, it kind of feels like a very sad day. So overall, I think Resto Shamans are going to be better. If Spirit Link doesn't hold up as well as I think it's going to on paper, obviously Resto Shamans are going to be much worse with the Earthshield nerf, but I think Resto Shamans should still be as good as they are, possibly even better. Definitely a top 3 healer next patch, no matter what. Better or worse, I think they're still going to be above Monks. I think they're still going to be above Priest. And they're going to be fighting for that #1 spot between Druids and Paladins. So if you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If there's something you want to add, feel free to leave a comment below. If you guys have any questions, you can always find me on my live stream at twitch.tv/cdewx. And if you want to see some of my arena footage, make sure to follow my YouTube or subscribe to my YouTube at TenderloinX1. Thank you very much for watching.